But moving on with that, you've also, in as the talking and community aspect has become your job, your nighttime hustle, as it were, seems to have evolved into typography or designing typefaces. So you can talk about how you've gone about designing type. How did you get into designing typefaces?
Sure. I think the first like quote unquote typeface I ever designed, I made because I wanted to design something for Android. Like I wanted to make a watch face with like a unique kind of modular typeface, just as like a graphic design expression of some sort.
Yeah,
And then I really liked it, so I kept going and like made it a complete kind of font. I don't know if it's still online, but um, then,
that's not Wakehurst, is it?
sorry.
That's not Wakehurst, is it?
Oh
Or was
no,
that did that come later?
it was before that. Um, but from there, like I started looking into formal type design instruction because I had a bunch of books and things, but it's really hard to sit down. I mean, for me, it's hard to be disciplined enough to like sit down and teach myself all the things that you would need to learn in a class. And I also think that like being in a class environment and having access to other students and teachers and critiques and things is super important.
Yeah,
So I started looking into classes at the Cooper Union in New York. Um, and I think part of it also is that I think for me, I do my best work when I'm also learning some other thing, which is also like why I started Design Notes, like learning about other types of design and talking to people about that helps my design practice. So I started taking classes at Cooper Union, and I ended up doing it for like 2 years. I went through their whole extended type design program and created a few different typefaces. One of them is available publicly, Girasol. The other two are not, but I will finish them someday. And yeah, I learned a lot.
what do you actually design the typefaces in? Is it like Illustrator and plus a type making software, or?
So something like designing a typeface, and this is something that terrified me about the process because typically like I use Illustrator or something like that to sketch with.
Yeah,
Um, but terrifyingly, the process for type design always starts with paper.
yeah,
So we took a lot of classes on calligraphy and pencil sketching and things like that because the other thing is like type design is another one of those things where there's like an immense, unimaginable amount of history behind it. And so all of these things, like when you see a digital font, you're not thinking about how the letters are influenced by physical writing tools and like the ways that people rendered these letters in the past, but they are, and that like those things that are unspoken and like never explained to anyone are the things that make them readable.
yeah.
So we had to learn all of that first. Then once you have your sketches, you will scan them in to digitize them. And we used a program called RoboFont,
Yeah, yeah.
which is, I believe it's open sourced and it's all based on Python. So there's like a huge, amazing community building extensions and tools for it. But that's the tool that we used for like making the actual typeface.
So to summarize, like when you're starting off the typeface, let's say you've actually you've learned the history of the contrast of the different shapes and stuff and evolution. You're sketching out loads of shapes to get whatever the shape is.
Mm-hmm.
You scan that in. Do you take that into Illustrator or do you go straight into RoboFont?
Straight into RoboFont. I think some people have Illustrator as part of their workflow, but I always just put it in RoboFont, and I would have the sketches on like a separate layer, so
Okay.
then you can kind of trace over them.
So RoboFont's a bit like it's kind of like Illustrator vector drawing tool, but the tools are designed to design, to draw the shapes of the font, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think I may have used it. I think a long time ago I designed like an icon, an icon font. I'm sure you hate me now, you more.
I've done it too. It's
I think it's called Glyphs was the app. I mean, we're talking.
Mhm.
This is quite a long time ago,
Yeah,
and
Glyphs
even
is
before
another
that,
popular one.
I mean that's a paid for one. I remember years ago when I was in university. I think it was called Fontographer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think it even runs on a Mac anymore because it's so legacy. But you could literally copy the vector from Illustrator and copy and paste it into like, I'm not. You can probably tell me what it is, but you know, it's like the chart of every single letter that you get.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like does that have a name? I don't know. It's basically a bunch of squares and it has like little labels with like A, B, C, whatever,
Yeah.
and you just copy paste the letters directly into them, and then you could export it. So most designers in college just created like the sort of display fonts that, you know,
Sure.
crazy looking ones.